Hi, this is the bad boy, Joey Janela, and you're listening to the Going in Raw podcast. Joey Janela always goes in.
This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to Going in Raw.
Hey everyone, Kenny Omega here. In case you didn't know, we have an awesome kick-butt show called Steven Larson's Going in Raw, and they're going to be supporting AEW every week amongst many other things. Goodbye and smooch. Good night. Bye-bye.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at the Twitch, twitch.tv/Steven Larson. A lot of fun tonight for AEW's Grand Slam. And then, of course, coming up on Friday, another 2 hours of Rampage Grand Slam. So that should be a lot of fun. We've got a stacked card coming up on Friday as well.
Yes.
And of course this weekend, WWE pay-per-view, so you know it's going to be great. Extreme Rules.
Oh,
that's going to be
you know, there's the four major shows, and then the fifth is Money in the Bank, but just right below Money in the Bank, of course, is Extreme Rules in terms of the most anticipated WWE pay-per-view of the year.
It's always almost on the verge. Like in my heart, it's like number 3.
I mean, in my mind, it's like a pay-per-view event on equal to or better than WrestleMania.
I mean, there's no other way to describe it, really. We're going to be watching that on Sunday along with the Enforcer, of course, over there at the YouTube, so check that out as well. If you're interested in this show, Going in Raw, if you're listening to my voice in the audio realm and you want the show ad-free, go to goinginraw.supercast.tech, and you can get it for $3 a month. Or if you want some bonus episodes included with that, go to patreon.com/Steven Larson. $5 a month. You can get the bonus stuff. We did a really cool episode yesterday for exclusive for Friendo Club TV members. We talked about ideas we had for seasons 4 of Dark Side of the Ring. And then tomorrow, of course, the definitely the most anticipated episode of The Numbers Don't Lie. We're going to be applying Going in Raw math to Christian Cage. Man, I can't wait. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's see just how low can I go with Christian Cage. And we'll see if I can skew him down a peg or 3.
No, see, this is something we're doing. It's based on science, math. We got to set our own personal biases aside as best we can. And be fair with our scores. Absolutely.
3s across the board.
Well, I feel like he's better than a 3 wrestler.
Well, yeah, that's, according to your, thing. But my thing, I got to get my shit in, too.
No, but that's your bias. That's your personal bias. We try to
Is that what that is?
Yes.
What does bias mean again? Isn't bias a plate over at Marie Callender's? It's a pie they have, right? No. Something different?
Well, first of all, Marie Callender's is closed, so even if there was, I'm not going to remember it because it's been so long since I've been there.
Why do you stab me in the heart? Anyways, enough of this, MPYP type stuff, Larson. What we're talking about today is Grand Slam and Arthur Ashe. This was a lot of fun. Of course, the highly, highly anticipated dream match, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. No title on the line, but of course, quite a few bragging rights. And no man could really claim to have come out on top because it went to a time limit draw. We had both speculated this is a distinct possibility. I was really glad that Kenny walked into this clearly outside of the bubble of the Super Elite. They brought that in after the match, but this was all about a dream match scenario. Let's get rid of, we don't need stories crisscrossing and the goofiness. This is sort of Kenny Omega, heel, face, whatever, against Bryan Danielson, a dream match for the ages. Terrific stuff.
It was great.
And neither man came out on top. It was a time limit draw.
Well, the whole idea of this was Bryan Danielson saying, I'm coming to AEW to wrestle the best. I hear you're the best. I see you're the best. So show me you're the best. And this was Kenny Omega coming out showing that he's still the best wrestler in the world. That's why his demeanor was serious, not goofy. And they delivered a hell of a bout, ended in a way that leaves you wanting more.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't know if we're gonna get that more at Full Gear, and have that be where Kenny gets the win. leading to, of course, Paige ultimately being the one that defeats him for the title. Don't know. Maybe it'll be another Dynamite. I don't know. I don't know how they're booking this out. They're scheduling it out. It was great to sit here and enjoy Bryan Danielson bringing back some moves we haven't seen in a while. Like, I don't think he ever did cattle mutilation in WWE. If he did, it's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Busted that out. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was just fun to see him, sort of. He had mentioned in his interviews that he felt Vince was a little overprotective of him. I didn't know. I mean, look, this dude is always putting on spectacular matches, so I didn't notice much of a difference from anything we've seen from since his return. A couple small things here and there, maybe.
There was a couple, like the Snapdragon suplex spot on the stage. I don't know if that's something they would have done at WWE, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a couple spots. There wasn't anything that was like outrageously dangerous that you were sitting there thinking. It was just a stiff, competitive, physical match. I mean, Bryan Danielson's chest looked like hamburger by the time that half hour was through, because a large component of the match was them chopping each other.
I guess I'll put it this way. I know it's different context because this was so soon after he came back, but his match with Brock Lesnar had me much more squeamish than this did. I mean, there was the top ropes, what are the suplexes they did, belly to back suplexes. Yeah. But he totally flipped out of those. And so there wasn't a whole lot, but it was just a classic, awesome wrestling match. I hesitate to think, I personally think that the next time we see these two fight, Paige will have probably already won the title, and we'll just get another feud between these two, which will result, because I think that Paige is going to win that title probably before the end of the year, maybe early 2022 at the February pay-per-view Revolution. That's a possibility. But yeah, I thought that was just an absolutely stellar match, and like you said, exactly right. The point of this match was, I think the point was, you got Daniel Bryan, a guy who just main evented WrestleMania. Yes, he got stacked by Roman Reigns, but he's a main event WrestleMania guy, multiple-time WWE World Champion, and he's coming in to show everybody, hey, AEW World Champion is on par with that. He is right up there with everybody else, and I thought this was a great way to do it. So yeah, no, I thought it was great. Otherwise, not a ton of surprises. I mean, there was a lot of matches where it's like, well, they could go either way, but in terms of like shocking outcomes, there was none of that. There was no. I
mean, I guess the most shocking
debuts or anything.
The most shocking outcome was Cody Rhodes not beating Malakai Black.
That was interesting. Yeah,
that was interesting. It wasn't a situation where Malakai got to hit a black mass, but he did get the win. Thankfully, Cody did the right thing. Took that L to Malakai, and maybe now Malakai can get off Cody Island and start up some feuds with other people, and then Cody can move. I don't know what else Cody's going to do, but do something else. Interesting dynamic throughout this match. They kicked off early with the crowd raining down boos upon Cody Rhodes upon his entrance. They didn't necessarily let up the entire time. It's not an isolated thing. There's been other matches where Cody has kind of teased maybe a little bit of a heel turn, perhaps. And I know he says a lot, I'm never going to turn heel. I think he's fully aware of how the crowd is reacting to him. And for him to say, no, I'm not turning heel, I think feeds into that. Because that's kind of why they're booing him in the first place.
I think he'll never say he's going to turn heel. I think he's always done, ever since he, even on his independent run after the WWE, he's always, well, number one, and I don't think when he was distinctly the most hated man in the building, he would still, I think, probably claim he's not a heel. I think Cody understands completely, and you and I have said this a million times, depending on what city they're in, they will give Cody a different reaction. There are plenty of people who love Cody, plenty of people who hate Cody. The man always gets a reaction. He knows how to play the crowd. The thing that's more surprising to me is they set up a very specific story between Malakai Black and Cody with the whole boot thing and I'm going to retire you thing. And this did not play to that, resolve that, anything. I would assume Cody probably understands it's kind of a no-win situation because Malakai Black clearly is the bad guy here. I mean, look at him. And he's basically the powers of darkness. And Cody has branded himself the, a man of the light. And I don't know if you can satisfy the obvious. Malakai Black is a big deal in AEW. He's a big signee from WWE. You don't have him lose to Cody. And I don't know how to write this so that he does lose to Cody and the light wins out when you're in New York and people are just sort of raining down booze on you. I don't know what you do. Maybe you just do this finish as protected for Cody as it is, and you walk away from the whole thing. Maybe that's how you do it.
I think that's the way to do it. Because
you think that's how they're going to do it? You think they're not going to
at least for the time being? Maybe they'll come back around to Cody Malakai at some point in the future. But I feel like right now, Malakai's got 2 wins. I mean, Cody could try to make a case for another match, but it's probably best just to walk away, let Malakai do some other stuff. Cody can do whatever he wants to do, and their paths will probably cross at some point.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
One last thing I want to mention before we get to the beat-by-beat breakdown of the show. I like that they had the women's title match main event. It was the lone title match on the card, if I'm correct. Yes. Titles on the line, as we see with most AEW pay-per-views. When the AEW Championship's on the line, that main event's the show.
Yeah.
That might be one example. And since the AEW Championship was on the line between Danielson and Kenny, they had the women's title match main event, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, I thought the structure of the show I thought was pretty decent because it's like, you ask, how do you follow up that opening bout? And they had a Phil promo, which I thought was pretty good too.
And here's another reason I like having Danielson and Kenny open the show is that if you start their match at like 6:30, it could kind of telegraph time limit draw,
Sure, yeah.
Since if they say it's 30-minute time limit, well, they're starting at 6:30, so that's going to be a time limit draw. Whereas if they start the show with it, hell, they could go for 2 hours. I mean, until they announce a half-hour time limit draw. But it leaves the end a little bit more in doubt,
Yeah. No, I think it's a smart move. You put your huge WWE acquisition at the head of the show, to bring those people in, and then hopefully they stick around for the rest of it. It'll be interesting to see what the ratings do, what kind of crowd they're able to pull. But yeah, no, it was a fun show. We can hop right into it. Then we'll answer some of your questions. All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from the sponsor of today's show, Simply Safe. Larson, when you're like me and you have a house full of gold, talking about these championship titles I got back here, of course, you need to keep your home safe. And I've got some big news about my favorite home security company. Simply Safe has a brand new wireless outdoor security camera that is engineered with all the advanced tech and security features you need to help keep you, your family, and your championship titles safe.
That's right. Simply Safe, the system that was already named by U.S. News and World Report the best home security system of 2021, has gotten even better. This new wireless outdoor security camera has got an ultra-wide field of view so you can watch your entire yard. Plus, 1080p high-definition resolution so you can zoom in and out and clearly see things like faces and license plates, and a built-in spotlight with color night vision so you can keep an eye on what's going on either day or night.
Yeah, man. And the camera integrates with your Simply Safe home security system, meaning your protection extends outside. Together, it means every door, window, and room are protected. And now your property, including your championship belts, will be protected too.
To learn more about the exciting new Simply Safe wireless outdoor security camera, visit simplysafe.com/raw. What's more, Simply Safe is celebrating this new camera by offering 20% off your entire new system and your first month of monitoring service free when you enroll in interactive monitoring.
Again, that's simplysafe.com/raw. Let's see here. Kicked off with, like we said, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. Just absolutely beautiful stuff. We mentioned a couple of these spots. Kenny hitting that dragon sleeper on Bryan on the ramp. He goes all the way back to the entrance, and hits a running V trigger that's just murdered Bryan.
Yeah.
That was great. Bryan hits, some people are calling it a regal plex here in chat. That was a fun move to see. Omega goes for a one-winged angel. Bryan hits a poison rana out of that. Bryan gets out of the way of a V trigger from Kenny to the corner. So Kenny just ends up hitting the corner. Bryan hits a kick, rushes Kenny, but he counters that into a nasty-looking power bomb. Gets a V trigger for 2. Kenny goes for a Phoenix Splash, which we don't see a whole lot often, and he misses that. They just stand there, trade blows. I mean, we're like 25 minutes deep into it at this point. Bryan's chopping Kenny down. He gets a head kick. We get the Danielson stomps. I missed cattle mutilation. That was earlier in the match.
Yeah, that was great.
He gets a label lock on. Kenny's able to get his foot to the ropes on that. Hits a knee strike. They both end up collapsing. And commentary towards the finish was really selling how they only had a couple minutes or a couple seconds
45
left.
seconds. They gave like a 45
seconds.
Yeah.
And they were done. That was it. Time limit draw after the match. Bryan locked in the label lock. The Super Elite came in, got him off of Kenny. And while the medic was attending to Bryan, the Super Click super kicked Bryan Danielson, and then Christian and Jurassic Express show up and even up the odds to help out there.
To make the save. They got a tag match to promote on Friday. I like, early on established, of course, Bryan Danielson with the label lock softened up Kenny's arm. Kenny going after Danielson's head and neck. That's kind of just Kenny's offense anyways. The Snapdragons, the V triggers, feeds into his finish. It all makes sense. They established the story early on, what they were working, and just went from there. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Stuff.
Yeah,
After
absolutely.
that, we had a CM Punk promo. So Phil comes out, and he was like, hey, how do you even follow that match? I think people were just so into seeing CM Punk in the ring that they were just focused on CM Punk at that point.
Smart move on trotting Punk out after that.
Yeah.
That's a good move.
The energy level of the crowd high. He says, it's been a long time since I've been in New York City. It's been an even longer time since professional wrestling has been in New York City. It's a shot at
Whoa,
WWE.
wait a second.
Sports entertainment, Steve.
What? Didn't they just...
Sports entertainment.
Oh, that's
not
right.
pro
2.0.
wrestling.
2.0.
He says, people tell me that I need to be mad. I need to be pissed off. I need to be the old CM Punk. He's talking to you, Steve, because you've been saying that. He says, eventually you'll see him, but be careful what you wish for. And then he calls out Hobbs and Team Taz. And then he kind of says, I asked myself, what do I have to be mad about? But then he thought about last week, says, yeah, it pissed him off, and he's mad about it. But when my music hits, that feeling goes away, and it's a love fest. And I'm out here, he's getting the cheers, and I'm smiling, and I'm happy to see the fans. And he says, but Team Taz tried to take everything, all that away from me last week. They don't want to see happy CM Punk. And then that really pisses me off because it's been so long since I felt this, since I needed this. I get pissed off because nobody's going to take this away from me. This is mine once again. He tells Team Taz and Hobbs that they should have finished the job, broke his neck, should have made sure that the 20,000 in the stadium didn't hear Cult of Personality, but they made the mistake of letting him live. He says, it's not my job to wake them up. It's my job to tuck them in at Rampage. Powerhouse Hobbs, you're going to sleep.
Yeah. Ooh, that's going to be a good one. Coming up on Rampage. After that, we had Brian Pillman Jr. versus MJF. Decent enough match, I mean, sort of kind of figured how this was going to go, and pretty much went that way. MJF made Pillman Jr. tap out.
Everybody got their stuff in.
Thank you. Everybody got their shit in. It's exactly right. After that, we had Jericho Hager interview where they just did a good job hyping up their match on Friday. Y2J said Lambert's crew made a mistake challenging them in New York City where all the tough guys are because nobody's tougher than us. He says Lambert insisted on sticking his nose in their business. If he does that again, I'm going to bite it off like Haku did in Japan. He says they're ready to snack on some MMA meatheads.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. After that, we had Malakai Black versus Cody Rhodes.
We did notice at the outset Cody had that Evel Knievel type gear on. I don't know. I mean, there was no collar there, but it was reminiscent.
It was somewhat reminiscent of what he was wearing plus Evel Knievel. And he must have had a cape that was 20 feet long.
Yes.
That cape off his jacket was massive. So he makes his way out, and of course he's like the only person that comes out the middle of the stage. And then Brandy is back, but she comes out of the heel tunnel.
Ooh, well, yeah, she had a heel move. She used the middle finger.
She did
on Malakai Black.
So, Malakai sends Cody out and does the moonsault and sits down. And then Brandy comes to the ring, sits down, gets in his face, gives him middle fingers. I think she told him "F you."
She did, yeah.
And then Cody tries to sneak attack off that, but Malakai instead locks onto submission. Cody gets the ropes. He tosses Malakai the apron, hits a disaster kick, leaps off the top rope, maybe with like a double axe handle or something. Instead, Malakai hits him with a jumping knee. Go to commercial. We come back. Malakai hits a black mass, but Cody tumbles out of the ring, and Malakai's like, It feels like panic. I got to get him back in the ring. So he goes and tries to pick him up, put him back in the ring, but Cody's just dead weight. But he's not dead. He's not so much dead weight that he can't get up and beat the 10 count because he does that. So as soon as he does, Malakai covers, but then Cody gets his foot on the rope. And then Cody starts going after Malakai's knee, hits a chop block, dragon screw. Eventually, Malakai hits a Judas effect. Cody looks for a crossroad. Malakai blocks that. He eventually hits a Cody cutter, a crossroads. Malakai kicks out of that. Then Arn gets on the apron. And when he's moving into position around the ring post, he falls off the apron. Everybody kind of like,
yeah.
Arn fell off. Make sure he's okay. He's fine. So he got back into position. So Malakai ends up pushing Cody into Arn. And then Cody kicks Malakai to the stage. And he goes to checks on Arn and helps him up. And Arn's like pushes him off him. It's like, get
away from me. I'm fine. Go to the match. And we're all sitting there like, oh, my God. Cody is just completely milking this, too. He's like taking his eye off the prize.
He is.
And poor Malakai Black has to basically sell his shove, you know?
I know. So then they're in the corner, and Cody's going after Malakai. The ref separates him. And after the ref separates him, Cody's like giving the ref crap, you know, and turns back towards Malakai. Malakai hits him with some mist.
Yeah.
Rolls up Cody for the win. So we saw Cody sneak attack Malakai when he was sitting in the ring. And then we saw him give the ref crap when the ref was just doing his job.
Yeah.
Heel Cody confirmed.
No, man. Look, come on, man. We're wrestling podcasters. You heard what Cody said. Not a single heel bone in his
How
body.
many times has a wrestler said something and you say, don't believe it? You telling me that all the time.
The guy dresses up in the red, white, and blue, man. Of course, this is the exception here. The American wouldn't lie. Oh man, yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think that Cody's always been the type that like it'll be interesting if he actually explores the heel trope thing. It'll be interesting because I think Cody is always kind of like the shades of gray stuff, or at least he's indicated that he's a complex character in the ring.
He has said that I don't believe in faces and heels. I just believe in characters, and you know, people are complex. And you know, depending on the situation, they behave different ways. Totally. Yeah.
You know what he could say too is that he's in there with this guy who is all about the dark arts or whatever he wants to call it. So a little bit of that is rubbing off, and it's like you got to explore that, you know, that territory to get the win.
That's the hope that after Malakai exits Cody Island, that Cody will still feel the impact of that feud on him, and as you mentioned, they'll explore, you know, that aspect of the character going forward. Will they? I don't know.
Or he can come out and drop a "You People" promo. Every single one of you is the reason why I'm bad now.
Oh my goodness.
I actually do have more faith in Cody than to drop a "You People" promo.
Yeah. Then we got a Sammy Guevara Miro video package. They got a TNT title bout next Wednesday on Dynamite. I was just too busy soaking in the brilliance of Miro.
You just got to sit in it.
To write down too much.
Talked about,
short. Go ahead. You got it.
His God helping to heal his pain, and his wife giving him pleasure and a little bit of pain. That was the one takeaway I had.
Yeah, he was saying he wonders why Sammy has stepped up, decided to be brave now. He mentions that I did break my neck in 2012. You know, but
my God healed me.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, the bit with the pleasure and pain came in. And And at the end, Sammy says, I'm going to win the title on Wednesday, and I'm going to buy Fuego a new car.
What is he going to buy him?
A new car.
Come on down, Fuego, and get your new car. After that, we had the NWO versus Sting and Darby Allin.
Oh, man,
when I
that
say
gear
NWO,
was
I
amazing.
mean FTR sporting some NWO homage gear. Of course, the NWO probably Sting's most besides
nemesis.
the Horsemen. Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Horsemen or the
yeah.
NWO, perhaps. Not RoboCop, but Sid, perhaps. That was pretty cool. And Sting and Darby had their match against FTR. I was kind of surprised a little bit, man. Sting was carrying a lot of the load tonight, more so than I would have expected.
I don't know if this is intentional, but it's worth pointing out. So Sting comes out first, then Darby, and Sting's waiting on the stage for Darby to make his entrance, and they do, and they're about to start walking down. Sting puts his hand out for a fist bump, and at first Darby doesn't see it.
Yeah,
and then does, and they bump fists and walk down the stage. Now,
are you reading into that? That's interesting.
I mean, AEW has attention to detail.
Oh,
so I don't know. I mean, it could just been an oversight on Darby's part where he's just, all right, I'm gonna walk down the ring. Oh wait, I need to Sting. He wants to fist bump before we go down. It could be nothing, but just remember this. Remember this. If there's a feud between Darby and Sting, remember this.
Just thank God he made that. I mean, if it was just a thing, if it wasn't like a real thing, like thank God because how do you recover from that, man? Sitting there like this the whole time.
Yeah, I know. And then Sting is an embarrassing situation for Sting.
It's
also,
terrible. You just do this.
Yeah. You're like, we're gonna get this match. Also, Sting and Darby kind of had match in face paint, like Sting. Like usually it's really bright white, stark black,
really thick, yeah.
But it was kind of like an off-white. The black wasn't on really thick, so it looked more gray. He had a streak of red, almost like he put his face paint on, then kind of wiped it off with a towel.
Well, and that's referencing FTR going in and doing that stuff. So I thought it was cool. Yeah, they're always good with those details. And hey, maybe you're right about that fist bump, man. I don't know. Or as who's this here? Garaz says maybe it was nothing, but it doesn't mean they're not going to turn into something. You got to go somewhere with Sting and Darby. I think that'll break a lot of hearts if they end up breaking them up. But the finish to this match is really cool. Basically, Sting gets Dax in Scorpion Deathlock, and to help him out, Cash went and grabbed his hand so he couldn't tap, and he had some leverage, and maybe he can help pull him to the ropes. But then Darby, who had just been taken off the top for the coffin drop, gets back up and then does a coffin drop like right on Cash's arm on the coffin, on the apron.
Ow.
That looked rough, and then Dax ended up tapping out. So I thought that was a really cool match. I thought that was a good finish.
It was a fun match. They kept the pace up pretty high. And as you mentioned, Darby was isolated for quite a stretch, and Sting towards the end was putting in all the work. Darby was in the trio woe for, 90 seconds.
Yeah, Sting couldn't go over there and just, unhook his feet.
Well, there was a moment where Sting is going for a stinger splash on Dax, I think, and he looks at Darby in the corner.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
And he's like,
he's got to learn how to get out of there.
I got the advantage now. I'm just going to go for it. So I don't know. There's something going on there. He looked at Darby when he was in the trio woe, and it's like, I'm just going to go and attack FTR.
Could be setting up for I don't know, maybe Sting versus Darby at Revolution
or Full Gear.
Full gear. That's up next time.
Yeah,
St. Louis, and then we had
Minneapolis. They changed to Minneapolis.
Oh, that's right. They changed to Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker for the women's title in our main event. Again, it's really good stuff, showcasing why Ruby probably should have gotten a bigger showcase in the WWE.
You got that right.
But this is really good stuff. Sort of not a shocking finish though. Ruby actually gets her finish off on Britt. But then Reba Rebel gets up on the apron. Ruby hits her finish on her, but then goes over because Jamie Hayter's on the other apron on the other side, and she sort of springs her jaw off the top rope there. She does that thing. And then Ruby's really shook up by that, allows Britt to get her down for the lockjaw, so Ruby has to tap out.
Yeah, it was a good match. Real good match.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
And it was, I like, I always say that I like my wrestling programs with the bare minimum of talking bits and a lot of quality wrestling, and this show provided that.
Yeah, sure.
So thumbs up. Great show.
No, I know it, dude. This was a pay-per-view. Like, this was a pay-per-view quality thing. Like, there was no title changes or anything, but this was definitely a pay-per-view level event. Let's see here. David Matushek kicking off our question says, after the success of Grand Slam, which stadium do you think AEW should go to next?
Football stadium. Do a huge stadium show.
60,000, 80,000.
Run a show at the Jaguar Stadium in Jacksonville.
Yeah, right.
Next time they do Homecoming, do it there.
Homecoming at the Giant Place. Yeah, that's good.
IML says Cody isn't the heel. We are. We're all the heels in this storyline. Cody is just fighting against the world, and we're being too hard on him.
It's us people. Us people. You people, us people. Aaron Gaspar says, who should be Brian Cage's tag team partner? Christian Cage or Matt Sydal? You had a good answer for this before, didn't you?
Yeah, it was Brian Cage.
Another Brian Cage. Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's right. It was a Rawgate situation. Oh, no, we find a different guy named Brian Cage.
Yeah. Or it was Ryan Cage. We name him Ryan
Cage. Yeah, that's good.
Cold Snacks, can Sting outwork the one who outworks everyone?
Yes,
after that
he
finish.
can. Absolutely, he can. That guy asks, what's the next feud for MJF?
That's a good question. Punk, maybe?
Punk would be great, especially now. Now is the once he's done with Hobbs on Friday, he should really be done with Team Taz at that point. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage are locked in this endless feud in limbo, so he's not going to do Starks. I mean, obviously everybody wants Hook, but I think that's more of an all-out main event situation, Punk versus Hook. So I would say for MJF, I think Punk would be great.
Yeah. Mason Rick says, new finisher for Ruby. It was the same finisher as the Riot Kick. They call it No Future. That's the name of it.
I think he meant that it had a name because some people were saying,
No Future. It's No Future.
No Future. That's a good name. Let's see here. Thomas Dunnigan, what would you prefer at Full Gear? Omega versus Page for the AEW title or Omega versus Danielson 2 as an Iron Man match, also non-title? I think that they need to be done with non-title matches. Like at that point, you went time limit draw. Rocky 2 dictates you got to go for the title at that point.
Indeed. Indeed. As far as what I prefer, I mean, you could easily make the case for Danielson to get the actual title opportunity at Full Gear and then have Page actually win it at Revolution. Because it still feels like there's a lot of, especially now with the Dark Order and Absolute Mess, and if Page is to be the one that comes back to get them all back on the same page, you want to take your time with that, you know? And it feels like there's story beats they could still address that. Could they get in 2 months? Yeah. But if they waited 5 months, it might be more effective. I don't know I just don't know what Tony Khan wants to do in terms of how far he wants to take this Page story. I don't know.
We don't know where Revolution's going to be, do we?
No.
Well, it'd be great if they. Where's Page from? Do we know?
Virginia.
So
I think the Dynamite after Full Gear is in Virginia.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh,
wow. I think it's November 19th or something like that.
Or AD says it's fine. Brian just needs to farm win on Dark and Elevation now.
Oh, there you go.
Farm win. That's good.
17th farm win. So November 17th.
Yeah. I would probably prefer Omega versus Page for the AEW title. They can be pretty efficient in their storytelling. I don't think they need 5 months, although I don't disagree that it could be more effective if they actually spent that 5 months doing stuff. But so I still think that sometimes AEW has an issue understanding the pace of their stories. Sometimes they could be too long. Sometimes they could be doing nothing. Sometimes they can do things really quickly.
Yeah. So November 13th is Full Gear. And then the 17th is in Virginia, and I'm on AEW's site on the events page, and Hangman is in the art. He's the only wrestler in the art here for that particular show.
Yeah.
Now, could he come back at Full Gear, then have like a homecoming, so to say, at this Virginia show to build to Revolution, or you have him win the title at Full Gear, and then you have him come out and turn in front of a hometown crowd to celebrate his win.
Well, that's a good point because, like, you got 2 months, but at the same time, if he's supposed to be having his kid around now, it's not like I don't know that necessarily he wants to just be there for the birth. He probably wants to take a little bit of paternity leave and then come back. So, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he comes back at Full Gear. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you do Omega Danielson too at Full Gear. Yeah. I don't know who wouldn't want to see that. Crispy McGrizzle, given the current roster of AEW and not counting any potential signings, who are the top 3 wrestlers you'd like to see win the Owen tournament? So nobody new. No Kevin Steen. Top 3 wrestlers you'd like to see win the Owen tournament. I know we've kind of answered this question before, but
Pillman Jr.
It's a good one, yeah.
Bryan Danielson. Dante Martin.
Oh, Dante Martin. That'd be kind of cool if it was like more sort of geared towards younger, like a breakout tournament type thing.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Beckett, thoughts on the decision to keep the house lights in a blue hue all night, like how WB does? I feel like it drowned out how full the place was. Imagine if the house lights were bright and you could see all 20,000 people. If they were like on all the time, it'd feel like the show was at it was like AEW 2.0. You know, I still can't get over how bright it is at the CWC now. It's too much for me.
Really bright.
I can't deal with it. I can't deal with how bright it is there. I don't like seeing, you know, like the girders on the roof and the wall. I don't want to see that. For whatever, I feel like I'm at a little like high school auditorium watching a wrestling show. That's what it feels like when you see everything.
2.0. Yeah.
So I didn't mind that. I mean, I you know, I'd heard that they had sold the place out. I saw how it was set up, you know, like before the show, so I can imagine what it looked like full. And there was enough crowd shots where you can kind of get an idea of the scope. But it looked like a hell of a venue. It looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, it looked pretty great. Patrick Sparks, the B-Man, says one of the worst moves, in my opinion, is the catapult. I agree, B-Man. He says, that being said, can you recall any notable catapults or someone who has a good one? Did HBK oversell a catapult from Hogan? Probably. I know like everything. It would not shock me. I don't know if that specific move, but it would not shock me if he used the catapult to launch himself over like the post or something.
Dolph always launches himself and smacks his hand on the ring post.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
he always really oversells it. King Eris. Larson, why is Danielson so darn good? Would you place him in the top 10 of all time? He's good because he's a great technical wrestler and he's a great storyteller.
He's top 10 he's top 10 all time in my book.
Yeah, totally.
But then I haven't seen all of Lou Thesz's matches or names like that. So I'm not a historian, but in my book, all time wrestlers, he's probably in my personal top 3.
Same. Same. He makes his matches believable. That's what makes him great.
That's what I want the most, man, is just make your matches believable, you know? It's like the comedy stuff is great for comedy purposes. If your purpose is comedy stuff. But man, if you can make it believable, holy crap.
Broken Wheelchair, just want to say thanks for the distractions this week. Yesterday morning we found out my dad's leukemia is back after 2 years in remission. So sorry to hear, Broken Wheelchair.
Sorry to hear that. Absolutely. Well, glad we're here for you.
Yep.
Let's see here. NWO Dennis Rodman asks, what do you guys think the first Forbidden Door match between AEW and WWE should be, and what show should it be on?
So
they would have to do its own separate show. Like Tony Khan's really good at just sort of branding these shows. Yeah, Larson.
So WWE has Clash of Champions.
Oh, that's good. There you go.
Just do that.
I like that.
As far as matches, I think it'd be interesting to do Roman versus Mox, given their obvious history.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd still really want to see Kenny and the Young Bucks versus the New Day.
Of course.
I think that'd be fantastic. Those
good one.
2 matches I think would probably headline in my book.
I would like that. I don't know if I'd like that or if I'd prefer to see Seth versus Kenny, because that's a dream match that I would love to see.
Well, then you got Kenny versus AJ. You got Kenny versus Finn.
Yeah.
You know, There's a lot of potential dream match scenarios there. Yes, totally.
Cody versus Triple H.
Yeah. Jorge D. After tonight's show, Tony Khan gives you guys the task to rebuild Cody and get the fans to cheer him again. How do you accomplish this Herculean task? You turn him heel. But it's not like he comes. He doesn't do one of those promos where he blames the crowd for everything. He doesn't do that. You just make him mean, and you have him do cool stuff. And eventually, if he does enough cool stuff, people start to cheer him again, and then he's a face again.
I feel like he did that before during in the Bullet Club stuff.
He did.
I don't know. People were booing the shit out of him though. They really love to boo Cody.
They do.
I would say you strip him of everything. You basically do a Baron Corbin thing, where he has to bring it down to basics. You have him do you show him doing wind sprints on the beach with Arn,
okay,
instead of whoever his Apollo Creed would be. I don't know. I feel like he has to be street. Cody's always had that sort of oh, look at me, I've got private jets thing.
Yeah,
and that's not relatable. I don't want to like that guy. So you take that away from him and see how he manages as or like his dad, son of a plumber type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Put him on real hard times,
and
people they'll be like, "Oh man, you look like you smell right now." I feel for you, man. I know what it's like to smell. They'll relate.
They could relate. Solus, given that Tony Khan is more of a broad picture guy and the wrestlers to an extent manage their own creative. Who do you think at the moment are handling that the best and the worst? So I kind of feel like Tony Khan's a bit more than just a broad picture guy. I feel like, like he said he writes the show.
Mm-hmm.
I know wrestlers. He says he gives wrestlers bullet points as far as their promos. So I think in terms of their promos, it seems like wrestlers have a good deal of input in terms of their creative. But I think, without a doubt, Tony Khan drives and decides what the creative direction of AEW is.
Yeah, but that being said, I agree with the idea that the wrestlers,
have a lot
to
of
an
input,
extent manage their own creative.
Totally.
So if the question is who do you think at the moment is handling the best and worst, I don't know. It's hard to say that Cody Island handles their creative all that great, because I'm just not interested in kind of any of it.
Yeah.
It's like I can't wait to see Malakai off Cody Island. Whenever there's if Bray shows up and he's on Cody Island, it's gonna be so I would say Tony would probably benefit AEW if he maybe tried to build a bridge between Cody Island and the rest of AEW. So it can feel more cohesive and not just there's the mainland and then there's Cody Island.
Yeah.
So that'd be my answer.
I guess in terms of who's handling it the best, I mean, how you have to say the Elite. You have to say Kenny.
There's a lot of people handling it really good.
Yeah.
Because Miro's promos are always amazing.
Yes.
What he's been able to do. Britt's on a new level.
Yeah.
The Super Elite, you're absolutely correct about that. Hard to say. I don't know. I mean, it's, a lot of people are handling it really, really well.
Yeah. Dark Shadow's sake. Someone said this earlier, but I forgot who. But do you think Arthur Ashe Stadium becomes AEW's MSG? I believe Tony Khan said he wants to try to run Grand Slam every year.
There you go, then.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
John Elite, is it a good thing that AEW spreads out their pay-per-views and not do monthly pay-per-views like WWE? 1,000% yes.
Yeah.
I wish WWE had fewer pay-per-views.
Yeah.
It would benefit their storytelling, I feel like.
I think that AEW could probably extend it to 6, to be honest with you. But I'd want that to be the limit. I think a good 2 months between pay-per-views is probably a really good deal. But then, I mean, he's booking these Dynamites as if they're, pay-per-views half the time anyway.
Exactly.
So, do you need it? Maybe not. But, I wouldn't mind maybe a couple more added to the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony R. says, is it me or does it take you out of the show anytime they have to make some reference or cheap shots at WWE?
Doesn't bother me.
It doesn't. I don't even notice. look, like if you have characters who like Ruby, who's coming over from WWE, she ain't taking a cheap shot to say that, it's not taking a cheap shot to say, hey, you were fired, or I finally have the freedom now. That to me is not a cheap shot because it's true.
Yeah.
That was the deal. They didn't use her right. I don't think that's a cheap shot at all.
No, I think with Phil's that when he came out at the United Center and did his promo, said, he essentially apologized to the fans. Said, "I'm sorry, I had to walk away though. I had to leave the place that was making me sick."
They proudly refer to themselves as pro wrestling because the other place doesn't.
Yes,
that's not a cheap shot. That's being loud and proud about what you are.
Yes.
And I think that's fine. And I think that Michael Soto up here in chat also says people are so sensitive when they mention it. And I agree with that. It's like, what does it matter? Like, they're just speaking on their experiences. It's not like it was back in the day in TNA when every new signee would show up, they'd be given a mic and they just air their grievances. It's kind of not the same thing,
Yeah.
That just creatively becomes boring.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt that any of their creative is boring, know?
Agreed.
Steve Klain, what are you most looking forward to in the AEW video game? Good gameplay. I just want solid gameplay with collision physics that makes sense. That's all I want.
If they can deliver an updated engine like the one we're used to from the N64 games that feels fluid and natural, and you have to do like 25 different buttons to do anything, and the graphics are decent and there's good customization, I will be happy.
You can have good look, man. You look back at some of those Xbox 360 games, the graphics are fine. They're fine. I don't need stuff that looks current gen. I don't need that. You can go back 2 gens for your graphics as long as the gameplay is good, solid, and I would like online connectivity that is as solid as local.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yes.
And a healthy customization suite. And I'm good. I don't need general manager mode. Sure, it could be fun. I like back in the day, like in some of those games back then, you can just set up a show, have your matches, and it just plays through those matches. And I know you could do it with Universe, but my God, it takes forever to load everything.
It does. Dan Daniels, how long would it have to be before you can say that AEW would be fine without Kenny and the Young Bucks on the roster and doing mainly backstage roles? So it seems like AEW basically took the first 8 months of its existence to start building people up for that eventuality, because that's going to happen probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I'd say within the next 5 years, probably for Kenny. So they have done a pretty good job of building up their younger talent to step up when it's time for them to do so. And you have them, plus you have people they've brought over from WWE. Because Mox ain't retiring anytime soon.
Nope.
Miro's not retiring anytime soon. Malakai Black's not retiring anytime soon. They still have a lot of people that have established name value with the mainstream wrestling audience that they can rely on. And plus they got a bunch of wrestlers who are young, extremely talented, up and coming. They get their reps in, and in 5 years they can be large enough stars where Kenny and the Young Bucks can say, all right, we're done as full-time wrestlers. We'll maybe do an occasional match. We'll work backstage, but this company is in their hands now.
I think they honestly, like, given how stacked their roster is, they would figure out a way without them if they disappeared if they quantum leaped out of the universe tomorrow.
Yeah,
I think it would be a hit. But if you get to the point where come November, Kenny was like, "Hey, man, I'm done." Went to the doctor. He said, "I'm done." Also, the Young Bucks, they're done too. You have that title change to Hangman in November. Look, I would miss them. You'd miss them. I'd miss the Young Bucks. They're like the best tag team, one of the best tag teams on the planet. But like their roster is stacked.
It really is.
It really is stacked.
Yeah, you're right. Kenny and the Young Bucks can say next week, all right, see you later.
It's a stacked ass roster.
They'd be fine.
Yeah.
They'd be fine.
I think they'd be okay. I think that people would be sad and upset and everything, but They have a stacked roster.
They'd be fine.
They really do.
A&J Network says, to your point, Steve, everything from Ruby being fired to everything that Punk said in Chicago, and even Bryan Danielson's promo after All Out went off the air. Not only is not a shot at WWE, but it's all facts, plain and simple.
And it's like none of it ever seems like they're cutting a promo because they're bitter. It's like, hey, I got fired, but I didn't have the freedom to do what I wanted to do. And Punk was like, dude, I was sick. Like, I was destroyed, and I had to walk away, and now I'm happy because I'm here. I don't think that's a shot. This is people opening up and being relatable to, relating to the crowd. They're communicating to the crowd on a personal level.
Yep.
I don't know why people have a problem with that.
I don't know either. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This last one here from UO Long Heavy says, if AEW were to debut Sid coaching Adam Softball Share, what should they name the episode of Dynamite, Larson?
Can't be Grand Slam because they just had that. So it'd have to be...
Just be Home Run?
You could call it this. You have it somewhere in Texas, and you call it AEW Dynamite Texas Leaguer.
Okay.
I believe this is another way of saying it is pop-up.
Okay, I did not know that. Well, there you go. There you go. Enforcer has it here. Field of Green.
Oh, there
I
you
like
go.
It.
There you go.
All right. I like it. Anyways, thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate Isolationville says, AEW Inside the Park home run. That's good. Anyways, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Twitch chat, stick around. We'll hang out for a bit, and we'll raid somebody.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Join us tomorrow at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern for our NXT UK watch along. I'm sure we'll be a lot more complimentary to that than we were NXT 2.0.
Yeah.
Till then, we'll talk to you guys later.
Goodbye.